The 6 a.m. alarm cuts through the dark room like a serrated blade. Mark hits the off button before the second ring, his movements practiced and devoid of thought. He sits on the edge of the bed, the floorboards cold beneath his feet. He drinks a cup of black coffee, the bitterness coating his tongue, then stands to face the day. His muscles feel stiff, a dull ache lingering in his lower back. He steps out into the damp morning air, where thousands of others are already moving toward the same destination. He reaches the subway station. The turnstiles click in a rhythmic, mechanical pulse as the crowd presses forward. There is no space to turn around. There is no room to breathe. He moves with the current, shoulder to shoulder with the sea of commuters. The air inside the station is thick with the scent of ozone and stale breath. He grips the cold metal railing, his knuckles whitening as the train doors slide shut. The tunnel walls blur into a gray smear outside the window. He is already moving, but he is not going anywhere. Mark sits at his desk, the fluorescent lights humming overhead. He checks his phone, clearing emails that arrive before he even stepped through the office doors. He does the math, a habit he cannot seem to break. 10 hours today, 10 hours tomorrow. He calculates the price of his time against the rent due on the first of the month. The numbers never leave him with a surplus. He drives a car to get to this desk, and he works this desk to pay for the car. It is a closed loop, a self-sustaining engine of necessity. He spends his energy to sustain the very tools that drain his energy. Every hour he logs is a transaction, but the balance never moves in his favor. He's trading the prime of his life for the privilege of returning to the same desk tomorrow morning. The realization hits him between emails. He is not building anything. He is merely maintaining the infrastructure of his own survival. He stares at the screen, the cursor blinking in a steady, mocking rhythm. He works to pay for the phone that keeps him tethered to the work he hates. The cycle is complete, and it is absolute. The credit card statement arrives with the weight of a physical blow. Mark swipes his phone, scrolling through the status upgrades he convinced himself were necessary. A faster subscription, a newer device, a lifestyle that screams success he does not possess. He checks the balance. 0. The numbers stare back at him, mocking the hours he spent trapped behind his desk. He tries to stand, but his back protests with a sharp, stabbing ache that forces him to sit back down. His eyes feel like they are weighted with lead, burning from the blue light of the screens he stares at for 10 hours a day. There is no pause button. There is no off switch. He reaches for his coffee, but the cup is empty, just like the account that was supposed to secure his future. He is caught in a high-speed treadmill of consumption, sprinting just to remain in the exact same place. He rubs his face, the skin dry and tight. He is physically depleted, emotionally hollow, and mathematically trapped in a cycle that demands everything and returns nothing. Tomorrow, the alarm will ring again, and he will start the process of trading his life for survival once more. Across the city, the atmosphere shifts. There is no frantic hum of subway turnstiles here, no screens demanding immediate answers. Sarah sits in a room where the loudest sound is the soft, rhythmic clicking of a cursor. She does not glance at the wall clock. She does not track the passing of hours. Her eyes are fixed on a single spreadsheet, a grid of data tracking the real-time cash flow of 3 automated distribution warehouses. Each cell updates with a subtle flicker, recording the movement of inventory, the arrival of revenue, and the efficiency of the chain. She is not rushing to meet a deadline. She is observing a mechanism. The office is still, almost sterile, but the air carries a weight of command. She watches the numbers compound, observing the flow of capital as it moves through the system she built. Where others see a list of tasks, she sees territory being captured. She is a spectator to her own creation, watching as the machines work while the rest of the city struggles to wake up. This is not about trading time for money. It is about setting the rules so that the money does the work for her. The cursor blinks, steady and patient, reflecting a rhythm entirely of her own design. The office silence was not an accident. It was a 5-year construction project. 5 years ago, Sarah lived in the same reality as anyone else, facing the same impulse to upgrade her surroundings. When her first surplus check arrived, the world told her to buy a better car, to move into a larger space, to signal success to the people around her. She looked at the cash in her hand and saw something else entirely. She chose the smaller apartment. She kept the older vehicle until the engine finally failed to turn over. She took every extra dollar and pushed it into a cold, digital system. She did not consume, she deployed. Each month was a test of subtraction. She stripped away the non-essentials, the status markers, and the temporary comforts that vanished by the end of the billing cycle. Every time she reached for an upgrade, she forced herself to redirect that capital into the warehouses instead. She built the foundation brick by brick, dollar by dollar, while others were building debt. It was not a sudden windfall. It was a slow, grueling process of choosing the long-term system over the immediate gratification of the present. She turned her life into a machine, and now, that machine was ready to run on its own. Today, the system does what it was designed to do. It produces. Sarah refreshes the dashboard and watches the incoming revenue cross the line of her monthly living costs. She does not need to be in the office to make this happen. The warehouses are humming, the inventory is moving, and the payments are processing while she sits in the quiet. She has crossed the threshold. The loop that keeps most people in a state of constant, frantic labor has been broken for her. She is no longer trading hours for survival. She is an operator, managing the flow of capital rather than submitting to the demands of a paycheck. She looks at the screen and realizes the dynamic has changed permanently. She can walk away from the desk, go for a walk, or sleep for 12 hours, and the system continues to generate value. The weight of needing to work has been lifted, replaced by the responsibility of managing what she owns. It is a quiet victory, invisible to the rest of the world, but it marks the total transformation of her life. She's done building the foundation. Now she focuses entirely on the expansion of the machine. Sarah does not view money as a reward for work. She views it as a resource for conquest. Every dollar that lands in her account is a soldier, and she refuses to let her soldiers sit idle in a bank account. She drills them. She marches them toward the front lines. Her strategy is one of constant expansion, taking territory one asset at a time. While others see a paycheck as a way to clear the month, she sees it as a supply chain for her next move. She tracks the flow of each unit of capital, calculating the distance between her current position and total autonomy. She does not spend on luxury. She does not look for convenience. She looks for leverage. Every surplus cent is immediately diverted back into the system, increasing the output of the warehouses, buying more space, and capturing more market share. She is calculating the yield of every movement. She is building a structure that operates independently of her physical presence. Money is not a static object to be hoarded. It is a force to be directed. By shifting her focus from the paycheck to the deployment of capital, she ensures that her system grows, compounds, and secures her future without requiring an additional hour of her time. Year after year, the trajectory of their lives pulls apart. Mark remains anchored to the same monthly rhythm. He finishes his shift, stares at the balance on his screen, and calculates the exact amount needed for his rent. The deadline is a wall he hits every 30 days. He works, he pays, and he resets to zero. His survival depends on the next paycheck, leaving no room for error or delay. Across the city, the math works differently for Sarah. She does not watch the calendar for rent. She watches the compound interest of her assets. Every year, the gap between their positions widens. It is not a sudden explosion, but a slow, relentless drift. Mark is trapped in a linear struggle where effort equals income, and income is consumed instantly. Sarah operates in an exponential space, where her capital generates more capital, building a buffer that Mark cannot perceive. He fights to maintain his current state, while she manages the growth of a system that functions without her labor. The chasm between them is not defined by luck or time, but by the direction of their dollars. One flows into the hands of others, while the other builds a structure that secures her future. The power of the system lies in its invisibility. To the outside observer, Sarah does nothing. She does not clock in. She does not rush to the subway. Her growth happens in the background, a silent pulse of numbers moving through servers and warehouses. She has engineered a reality where her assets work while she remains stationary. In sharp contrast, Mark's existence is defined by total visibility. His fatigue is etched into his posture. His frustration is measured by the hours he spends under fluorescent lights. Every action he takes is tracked by a manager, logged by a timesheet, and converted into a finite, taxable income. He is the engine of his own survival, burning through his physical energy to keep his head above water. While Sarah's wealth compounds in the dark, Mark's life is stripped away in the light of day. He is not just losing money, he is losing the capacity to sustain his own labor. The tension rises because the process is uneven. One side creates a structure that multiplies. The other side trades life for a recurring, diminishing return. The gap is no longer just a financial difference. It is a fundamental divergence in how they interact with the world. The solution is not a secret. It is a formula, written in plain sight, ignored by most because it lacks spectacle. Capital multiplied by time, multiplied by rate, that is the entire structure. It is intentionally boring. It offers no immediate rush. It does not provide the dopamine hit of a new purchase or the relief of a temporary debt payment. It demands patience. You deploy a unit of capital, you let time pass, and you apply a rate of growth. Repeat this 1,000 times. The power of this formula does not come from intensity. It comes from consistency. It is a slow, grinding force of nature that shifts the foundation of reality. While others seek speed, the operator seeks duration. The math is relentless. It does not care about your exhaustion or your desire for comfort. It only responds to the input. Each dollar sent into the system acts as a soldier, capturing more territory, building a larger base, and compounding the distance between the operator and the worker. It is invisible to those looking for excitement, yet it is the only force capable of overriding the cycle of labor. It is a machine that runs without rest, indifferent to the clock, steadily converting the present into a future of absolute independence. The separation is total. Mark is ground down by the friction of his own labor. Every shift he works extracts a physical toll that never recovers. His hands, his focus, his time, all are consumed by the necessity of survival. He is a battery being drained to power someone else's machine. Across the divide, Sarah stands in a state of absolute control. She does not trade her physical presence for survival. She trades her capital for growth. Her ownership is not a status symbol. It is a lever she uses to move the world. She is empowered by the very system that Mark serves. Now, look at your own hands. Are you trading your finite hours for a paycheck that vanishes the moment it arrives? Or are you building the assets that will eventually replace your need to work? The reality is binary. You are either the laborer who is slowly depleted by the clock, or you are the operator who masters it. Mark is the prisoner of his own consumption, forced to repeat the same cycle until his capacity to work fails entirely. Sarah is the architect of a system that functions in her absence. One path leads to inevitable exhaustion. The other leads to total independence. The choice is not made in a boardroom. It is made in the quiet hours of every single day. Wealth is not a collection of objects. It is not an accessory, nor is it a badge of prestige. Wealth is a load-bearing structure. Like a bridge or a foundation, it is designed to support weight, the weight of your life after your labor has ceased. Most people mistake the shine of consumption for the strength of the structure. They buy the outward appearance of success, pouring capital into items that lose value the moment they are acquired. This is not building, this is demolition. Every dollar spent on an unearned upgrade is a brick removed from the wall you are supposed to be constructing. True wealth is a machine built to outlive your physical capacity. It is a system of parts, equity, assets, and automated cash flow that function independently of your daily presence. When you shift your perspective, the glamour of spending evaporates. It is replaced by the cold, functional logic of engineering. You stop seeing a paycheck and start seeing a resource to be deployed. You stop seeing a luxury item and start seeing a drain on your structural integrity. A house built on sand cannot hold, and a life built on consumption will eventually collapse when the labor stops. Build the system that sustains you, or you will remain the system that sustains everyone else. The divide between survival and independence is not marked by a single, monumental decision. It is etched into the floor of every store and the checkout page of every app. You make the choice every time you reach for your wallet. A dollar spent on a depreciating item is a dollar that dies. A dollar directed into an asset is a dollar that begins to work. This is the moment of impact. You are holding the tools to build your own future, or you are handing them over to someone else's balance sheet. Consider your last 3 purchases. Did they add to your structural integrity, or did they subtract from your long-term autonomy? There is no middle ground. Every transaction is a vote for who you want to be, the one who provides labor or the one who commands it. The habit of consumption is a heavy anchor, dragging you toward a future defined by perpetual necessity. To cut the chain, you must change the internal logic of your spending. Do not ask if you can afford it. Ask if the capital is being deployed to capture more territory or if it is being surrendered to satisfy a temporary impulse. The responsibility rests entirely with you. You are the sole operator of your economic destiny. What you do with the next dollar you earn will define whether you continue to trade your life for survival or begin the work of building a system that replaces your labor forever. The loop does not break itself. It requires a physical intervention, a deliberate act of sabotage against your own habits. You must stop the flow of capital into the void. Cancel the recurring subscriptions that bleed your resources. Delete the applications designed to extract your attention and your cash. Stop the automated withdrawals that keep you tethered to a desk. This is the moment to seize the controls. The paycheck you chase is a leash, and every hour of labor performed for survival tightens the knot. You must disconnect the engine of consumption that drives your daily routine. Look at your desk, your calendar, and your bank statement. Identify the points of leakage. Each one is a leak in your structural foundation. Plug them. Redirect the excess. Take the capital you once surrendered to status and demand that it perform. Force the money to move into assets that generate their own momentum. You are not a consumer, you are an operator. The transition begins the moment you refuse to trade another hour for a depreciating return. Stand up from the cycle. Stop the bleeding. Start the construction of the system that will eventually render your labor optional. The work is hard, but the alternative is permanent depletion. Secure your future by dismantling the loop today. The strategy is simple. Every dollar is a soldier. You do not send soldiers to sit in a bunker. You send them to the front lines to capture territory. Mark spends his days trading his strength for a stagnant wage, pushing through the same turnstiles, trapped in a position that never advances. His labor is a defensive action, a desperate attempt to hold ground he already lost. Meanwhile, Sarah operates on a different scale. She does not look at the clock. She monitors the expansion of her assets. While Mark loses energy, her capital gains it. The warehouse systems she built do not tire, do not sleep, and do not ask for a paycheck. They work in the dark, expanding their footprint, reclaiming territory from the market. This is the difference between a worker and an operator. Mark is a casualty of his own consumption, watching his bank account reset to zero at the end of every cycle. Sarah is a commander, deploying her resources to secure more ground, year after year. The gap between them is not luck. It is a calculated difference in how they treat their capital. One burns his soldiers for temporary comfort. The other sends them out to build an empire. You must choose. Will your capital be a casualty, or will it be the force that captures your future? The luxury of ignorance has expired. For decades, the choice to understand the mechanics of wealth was seen as a path to extra comfort, a way to move beyond the standard baseline. That time has passed. Today, financial literacy is a survival mandate. The systems that govern your life do not pause for your hesitation. If you do not command your capital, you are effectively consenting to be commanded by the fluctuations of an unforgiving market. This is no longer about building empires or chasing status. It is about constructing a perimeter around your future that can withstand the erosion of inflation and the volatility of the labor market. Every dollar left idle is a vulnerability. Every hour spent working for a wage without a concurrent system of ownership is a step toward permanent depletion. You must look at your financial life as a defensive structure. Without it, you are exposed to every shift in the economy. This is not optional. It is the only mechanism available to ensure your survival when your ability to trade labor for cash eventually hits its limit. The reality is stark. If you do not build the system, you remain a component of someone else's. Secure your position now, or accept the inevitability of the cycle. The trap is visible if you stop running long enough to look at the floor. Mark is not just tired. He is a permanent fixture of a machine that consumes his output and gives back only enough to keep him moving for another day. He is trapped in a loop where every dollar earned is immediately surrendered to satisfy the requirements of his own survival. There is no off-ramp in the world of labor. The only way to exit the cycle is to stop being the engine and start building the architecture. Sarah does not rely on her strength to sustain her. She relies on the system she constructed. That system is the only wall between a person and the grinding gears of the market. While Mark trades his hours for a paycheck that dissolves, Sarah's assets generate the energy required for her existence. This is the ultimate peak of the reality. You are either the one building the system, or you are the fuel for someone else's. The system is not a dream. It is a calculated, cold, and precise arrangement of capital that operates independently of your physical presence. It is the only escape. It is the only way to cease trading your life for existence. Stop running. Start building the system that replaces the need to trade your time for a paycheck. The knowledge required to build this architecture is not hidden, but it is rarely taught. Most people spend their lives perfecting the art of trading labor, while the mechanics of wealth remain a foreign language. To cross the divide, you need a map. The Operator Capital exists to bridge this gap. It is a dedicated resource for those who have identified their position in the cycle and are prepared to alter it. We provide the deep dives into the mechanics of wealth that standard education ignores. This is not theory. It is the application of capital, the movement of assets, and the precise calibration of systems that replace your need for a paycheck. You are moving from a state of reactive survival to a state of active construction. Every week, we break down the specific components of the machine: how to deploy capital, how to track cash flow, and how to scale systems that operate without your manual intervention. You have reached the point of decision. You can continue to facilitate the wealth of others, or you can begin the work of securing your own. The Operator Capital is the guide for your transition. It is time to stop being a component of the loop and start controlling the mechanism. Subscribe to the Operator Capital. The work begins now. Understanding money is no longer a luxury for the elite. It is a fundamental requirement for your survival. When you master the mechanics of capital, you stop reacting to the fluctuations of the market and start dictating the trajectory of your life. This is not about status. It is about the construction of a self-sustaining structure that persists long after your own labor ceases. Every decision you make today is a brick in that foundation. Every dollar you deploy into an asset is a soldier sent to the front lines to secure your territory. Do not wait for the system to change for your benefit. Build the system that makes your benefit inevitable. The future does not belong to those who trade their time for a paycheck. It belongs to those who control the flow of capital. The gap between where you are and where you intend to be is bridged by the precise application of these mechanics. This is your leverage. This is your agency. Mastery of these systems is the only way to ensure your future remains under your control. The path is clear, the tools are at your disposal, and the choice is yours to make. Ensure your future survives. Master the mechanics. Start the work today. The gap between Mark and Sarah is not luck. It is the sum of 1,000 small decisions. Every purchase is a vote for your future or a drain on your potential. You stand at this junction every single morning. You can reach for the comfort of current consumption, or you can divert those resources into the engine of your own independence. The cycle of the paycheck is a trap only if you refuse to build the exit. Every dollar spent on status is a brick removed from your foundation. Every dollar invested in an asset is a beam added to your fortress. The system does not care which path you choose. It will continue to function, whether you are its victim or its owner. You are the architect of your own survival. Take the tools, study the mechanics, stop trading your finite life for a temporary wage. The choice is yours to make, and it is made anew with every transaction. Break the loop, build the system, secure your future. The time for waiting has passed. The time for action is now.